Hello, welcome to Tech Talk with Steve. Years of installation, design, estimation, project management skills in the ICT industry. And that's right out at the end of my cord from my permanent link adapter.
But we did win this great award for Test Pros.
So I've connected my tester here. This is my remote. I've got the plug from the modular plug terminated end of the link. He opened Wilson Technology in 2004. He brings 50 plus years of telecommunications and information technology. Hello, welcome to Tech Talk with Steve, episode 6. AEM and PLT is easy as 1, 2, 3. It's a lot of letters and numbers there. So today we have got a special guest joining us, Mr. Todd. Todd has been around in the industry pretty much as long as I have, and Todd, just about everything. He's been out there installing, he's lived it and breathed it, and we're going to be talking today about simplifying your labeling process and combine your labeling database and your database in the tester for the labeling as well. So you can use a common database between the two and improve your efficiency. Welcome, Todd.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. It's always a pleasure to see you. So thank you for having me on today.
Well, it's so in the crowd when you're on the show. So it's good to have you.
That's a good thing and maybe a bad thing too at the same time. But either way, I appreciate it.
It's all good. It's all good. So brother has come out with a new.
That is correct. It's a brand new app, and we AEM and Brother have had a collaboration now for some time based upon an old app, and it worked fine. But the new app and we'll go into that later. But the new app actually gets rid of a couple of steps and is so incredibly easy to use. And sometime during today's podcast, I'll hopefully, if technology works the way it's supposed to, hopefully I'll be able to share my screen and show you how that works. But we've taken that. The whole idea is to take that database that you're going to preload your certifiers right ahead of the job, which saves time, saves money. And essentially, we're going to take that database. In the old days, we'd transfer that database, via Wi-Fi into our PTE 550, and only the PTE 550, which you see sitting behind me. So there's a couple things later on we'll talk about, but I really am excited about the new app, and there's a couple of tweaks we're making. But what you and I are going to talk about is absolutely flawless. Now, as I say that, watch, I'll screw everything up today.
That's right. That's
it never fails.
Proof that we're live, right?
Absolutely. So yeah, I'm excited about this. And again, the whole premise is to save time.
Yep.
And be more efficient and save money. And certainly, the AEM certifiers do just that in and of by themselves, but we're taking this one step further.
Yep. Well, I remember back in the 90s, you and I were both in this business, and the labeling machines that we used in the field, and you'll know exactly about when I make this sound. You'd start your printing and it would go ka-chunk, 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 and it would crank out your labels. It was a dot matrix printer that would just crank out label after label after label. And
funny, the name brand on that was ka-chunk, believe it or not. Yeah.
Exactly. So, and it's, it was what we had at the time, and yep. That's what we use. But, just like with testing, printing technology has evolved. We've come a long way from matrix printers, and now to your point, you've got an app that can work seamlessly and we're going to show you how to load in the tester here in a minute, and put that into your app and print the labels.
Well, there's a couple of things with the standards, and we're both very, very heavily into the standards. And there's a couple of you need to do these, and there's a couple of gray areas, but two of the things that you absolutely have to do is certify that, and then number two is you got to put a label on it. So we're basically combining the best of both worlds at a much more efficient way of doing things. So that's why we're here today.
Yeah, and to stress the importance of that, and why the standards talk about that. You and I have probably both been on job sites, coming in behind somebody else who did an installation, and seeing a case where not only was it not labeled, but nothing was even documented. And that just creates a nightmare. And that's, the standards have come about because of a need in the field. And the need in the field is to have everything labeled in a systemic fashion, have it documented, have all your test reports documented so you can easily look at a label, go, okay, I know which link this is. Let me find my test report on it, see what's going on. And that's the reason behind the standards for both the certification and the labeling part of this.
Well, and if you don't do it, as a former contractor, Steve, I was a tightwad then. Ask my wife, I'm still a tightwad. And so, a mislabel, if you will, and I'm not going to go where we've been in the past. Watch those previous episodes. But a mislabel, if you would, in the past means time and money. It means you have to go back and you have to relabel it.
Right.
Or a label that falls off. You're not using the right material. That contractor has to go out there on their own dime. And so it's absolutely crucial. The same with certifying. You only want to do it once, get your certification, and then, turn in everything at the end of the job, your as-built and everything else. So again, labeling to me is not quite as important as that table actually functioning and AEM proving that it is a functioning link, if you will. But it's up there, because it can be quite costly if you don't do it right the first time. So again, this collaboration is going to eliminate many, many, many mistakes, which I wish for every nickel the per label I had to replace, I probably wouldn't be here today. I'd be retired already. So this is going to potentially be, well, maybe it's an early retirement for somebody if you do it right the first time.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. You think about time, time being money, not even just totally setting aside the time that you have to spend troubleshooting if it's not labeled right, but to have to go back on a job site. The last I remember a few years back, a truck roll was $150, $200 just to roll the truck to the job site, and the time for the tech. Then however much time you're spending doing your troubleshooting. So it can add up fast.
Big time.
Yeah.
Big time. Like I said, I probably wouldn't be schlepping stickers right now, but and I think that my experience with labeling is gotten me to the point to where, I'm on a mission to make it incredibly easy. And I'm not a fan of labeling. I don't know. I teach 606 classes all the time, and one of the first questions I ask is, okay, who in this room enjoys labeling? And the ones that raise their hand, I know they're BSing me. And you can't BS, this BSer, and nobody likes to label. And so if you can get in and get out as soon as possible and not have to go back unless you're being paid, right? That's the key to this whole collaboration that we're doing right now.
Yep. Absolutely. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to pull up my software here, and hopefully you can see that now. And what I'm going to do is a couple ways that you can import a label or create a label scheme in the tester. Now we're here to talk about the CSV file method. So I'll just mention the other method. You can create a labeling scheme by entering a starting sequence in the tester and an ending sequence, and then it will create the labels in sequence between that starting and ending point. But what we're going to talk about today is the ability to take a CSV file and import that into the tester, and then use that same file for your labeling tool. So I'm going to go to a folder here and show you. I've got a CSV file right here, BS labels 2, and I'll just open that up real quick so everybody can see what it looks like. And I just created a simple label sequence, and we're going to take this label sequence and use the software to drop it onto a thumb drive. So here we can see the sequence. It's starting with an MS1-A01, and it progresses through an MS2 series, MS3 series, and so on. It's just a single column, simple CSV file. So we're going to go ahead and go back to our software now, and I'm going to take that and I'm going to use the tool here called Import Custom Label. And when we do the import custom label, we need to go to our custom label folder wherever we have stored that that file. And then here's that BS labels 2 that I just did. I'm going to click on open, and it's going to ask me, where do I want to send it? So I'm going to select my USB drive that I've got plugged in. I'm going to click OK. And now it's created. So now we can just double check. We can look at that USB drive, which is right here, and we see there's a folder now called custom label. And if I open that folder, we will see that BS labels 2 is in there. So now I'm just going to take that thumb drive out of my PC, and I'm going to switch my screen to my tester here, and I'm going to insert the thumb drive into the tester, and momentarily we'll get an odd special offer that my software is out of date from some WinZip. I don't need that.
Live shows, baby. Live shows.
Yeah, that was cool. So here we go. USB menu popped up on my tester, and I want to I could copy test results if I have them on here, but what I want to do is import my label list. So I click that, I select BS labels 2, and I click yes. And it has been imported. So now what I can do is I can just hit the home button on my tester, and I'm going to go right back here to my tester, and I'm going to click on this project right here. Let me hide this little thing. Click project, and in here we see the project that I've already created, and I want to change the labeling scheme that I'm using in the project. So I've already set everything else up. I'm going to go right here to my label scheme, and the default is simple label. I'm going to edit, and here we go to right there. I'm going to click save, and see that same sequence that we already created. So BS label 2 is in there, and now we see our label scheme BS labels 2. If I hit on my tester, we'll see that screen come up, and I'm going to plug my remote onto the other end, and I'm just running from one tester to another. I don't have a link that I'm going over right here. We see an instant wire map. That is live wire map. As soon as you plug in, if you got a wire map problem, you know it. You don't have to. That's a big time saver. I'm just going to run an auto test, and this is a 6-second. Note that I'm doing a permanent link plus test, so that does include the limits for DC resistance unbalanced, and we still do that in 6 seconds, so it doesn't add any time to that. And we see our wire map here. We see our details. Everything that we want to look at is in here. I'm just going to go ahead and save my test. And here's our label scheme, MS1-A-01. And I just click save. And it really is as simple as that. It's just a matter of importing that, that label scheme into the tester the way I just did. And now you've got it. Now, I've also just emailed a few minutes ago to Todd the labeling scheme file. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and we'll hand that over to Todd. So Todd, I sent you that file, and so you've seen it in action. Bring it into the tester. It automatically shows up when we run the test and save it, and it's just going to keep going in sequence through that scheme. So now we want to do the same thing. We want to be able to take that database and use it in the app with the brother labeling tool.
So back when I worked for a living, Steve, that 4-letter word, work, we'd be standing in the closet and and whatever certifying device we had at the time, everything was all manual. So you're standing in front of a 7x19 or a 4-post or whatever, fully loaded, and every single port had to be manually entered into that certifier. All right. And so it's come a long way. So the ability to preload that ahead of time is absolutely huge. And then the way labeling was done, if you were lucky enough to have that database ahead of time, is that you'd print it up on a dot matrix printer using one of my competitors. Actually, they're not even a competitor. I'll mention them. Avery. Everyone knows Avery labels, right? And so we'd run down to a local big box store and we buy the Avery labels. And you know, a lot of times it was either, you know, doing it ahead of time, or we'd have our little inexpensive $29 brother unit, and you're entering each port in manually, just the way you did on the certifier. And so, you know, that took a lot of time. But again, that's when the business was good. And now you want to get in and get out. So with the ability to load that head unit ahead of time is absolutely huge, right? And so let's hypothetically say, you know, you're in Florida somewhere. I'm in San Diego, northern San Diego. So I'm doing a job for Steve out here in San Diego. All right. And I got an email from Steve earlier. And essentially with the new app, well, what I'm going to walk you through after I share the screen is not dumping that unit into a printer anymore, but doing everything on the app. So let's see if this works. I think I failed earlier on this, but let's see if I can share. Let's see what comes up here. Here's my window. Power, no, entire screen, maybe, yeah, okay. So let's share. Steve, let me know when you see that out there, if you could.
All right.
I think
I see it.
Are we there?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm a tech in San Diego, and I've got a whole bunch of labeling to do based upon the certifying that has already been pre-done. Now, in accordance with EIA TIA 606D now, right, there's a couple of things I need to label. Two of the most crucial things I need to label are, number one, are my patch panels, all right? Number two is that the associated label, which is the same identifier on the backside, which is going to be the cable. All right. So again, and hopefully nothing pops up on here. I think I got rid of all my pop-ups. But if something does, I'll try and get rid of it as soon as I possibly can. But anyway, so I got an email from you earlier. All right. Here it is right here. All right. And essentially what I do is I click on this. There's your identifiers. The same ones you loaded in earlier. Now, it's tough to see on an iPhone, but they're all there. At this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this to my phone. And I'm going to share file via, and I'm going to save it to whatever folder I want to save. The beautiful thing about this, though, is let me go into the brother apps here. Now, the old app, the way we used to do it was like this. This is the old app. And then what I'd have to do is I'd have to connect it, and then I'd have to send these databases. I'd connect it to the 550W behind me, and then I would have to dump this via Wi-Fi into the printer. It still worked. It worked fine, all right? But now, because everybody these days, and especially these young kids coming up through the ranks, you know, everything's done on their phone. Everything is, all right? And so why not make their life a lot easier, since, you know, again, they're using their iPads and their iPhones and their Androids and everything else. But let's go ahead and let's go into this particular app here. All right. So what I'm going to do is, here's what the app looks like to begin with. And you can do your self-laminating labels, your cable wraps, heat shrink, die cut flags, patch panels, face plates. There's all sorts of stuff you can do on here, but let's just do a simplistic cable wrap, and let's associate that file that you sent me, Steve, with cable wraps. So what I'm going to do is select cable wraps. Now, word of caution on this screen, and this is one of the things I'm changing, I don't know what any of this stuff is, you know, and so we're changing these in the US terms. But what I want to do is I want to select the new cable wrap. And I know under the media size, I want to use a 1-inch label. It has your layout below there. Your unit of measure is crucial. Here's where you pick your Cat 5, your Cat 6. In this case, I'm doing a Cat 6A, and I want to repeat that text. As far as the TIA custom form, forget about that now. Just forget about it. All right. But when I hit done, it comes up with a blank template. So now what I want to do is I want to connect the database, and down in the bottom portion where I hit connect database, it wants me to select a CSV file. Well, there's my BS labels 2 that I've saved a couple of times, not only in the iCloud, but on my phone. So I'm going to hit that. Oops, excuse me. I'm going to tap on this. And you could see, Stephen, there's a say that I had 3 or 4 different columns, and I wanted to put line 1 as column 1, line 2 as column 2, so forth and whatnot. But what I want to do is I want to press the assign button. And since we only have the one particular, I'm going to assign that. When I print, here's the beautiful thing about this, my friend, is that dumping this into the actual printer, because when I print, it now will bring up whatever printer I'm connected to. Now, in the old days, Steve and audience and everyone out there, if you're still there, we could only use the PTE 550W, which is this guy right here. Great unit, great printer, all right? But it was very limited. Now, the wonderful thing about this app is that I can select any of the Brother Wi-Fi enabled printers. So whether it is a desktop printer, whether it's a tabletop printer, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter, all right? Because I'm going to select my printer up here, select how many copies. I can do an auto cut. I can do a half cut. I can do whatever I want. But look, it even gives you a preview of the job. Okay, now let's just cancel all this. All right, so I'm done on the back side of the patch panel. So what I want to do is I want to do a patch panel. All right, again, forget these. These templates are going to be changed. All right, the biggest thing about labeling a patch panel is your port spacing, because any contractor out there knows that if you're one little tick off, by the time you get to the 6th port or the 8th port, you're going to be way off. So what we want to do here is we want to select new patch panel. The media size, anywhere between 0.13 to 0.35. A 0.35 is going to be 3/8 inch. Here's the most important part though, your port spacing. Inside every Brother unit we sell, we give you a patch panel ruler. So I don't care who the manufacturer is. And I'm not going to mention them because there's a lot of them out there, all right? But they all have different port spacing. So let's take a modular patch panel, a 4-port modular patch panel. That port spacing is going to be different than, let's say, a standard 6-port pre-wired patch panel. And now with high density, they're 8-port configurations, all right? So it's very important that you measure the port spacing. But I can put the port spacing in here, and let's just say it's a 0.61. Now, remember the number of ports I was talking about, right? Here, I call them 4-packs or 6-packs or 8-packs, but here's where you change. Most patch panels are still 6-pack configurations. In other words, you have 6 ports, you have a space, then you got another 6, then you have a space, and so forth and whatnot. The high-density patch panels are 8. I mean, hell, if you want to run into an old school patch panel with 24 across, you can still do that. But in this case, let's just do a standard 6-port configuration. All right, so I'm going to type back down to, let's say, 6. All right, let's go. You can pick your lines in between. Do you want to tick in between? Do you want to dash? Do you want to bold? Do you want to frame? Here's something that I absolutely love. reverse patch panels, right? You're on the back, you're doing some type of tone and tag work, let's say, or some diagnostic work. What you're looking at in the front, all right, is serialized, whether it be 1 through 24, 1 through 48, A01-01 through A01-A48, doesn't matter. But you're on the backside of that patch panel. Sometimes you don't know where the hell you are. And let's say that you're not using brother labels, and that label falls off, or several labels fall off. Well, now you go to the front, then you go to the back, then you go to the front again. It's a time waster. So one of the things you can do on this new app is a reverse patch panel. I highly recommend a reverse patch panel. But essentially all I do is I hit done. All right. It comes up with nothing. Again, what I want to do is I want to connect that database, that very same database that you sent, which is going to be the BS labels right here. Now, here it is. Same thing. All right. I'm just going to hit done. We have to assign the ports. And again, if you want to use different columns, you can use different columns. But in this case, I'm just going to map everything to that one particular column you sent. Nice and easy. I hit done. All right. I'm done. I hit print. I select the printer. All right. And again, there it is right there.
Nice.
All right. And it really is that easy. Now, all I do, my friend, is I just hit print. That's it. That's all. You essentially don't have to touch the damn printer anymore. I myself, I'm an old school guy. I like the touchy-feely of this stuff. But you know what? These new folks out there, not so much. So really, that's it. I'm going to stop sharing my screen if that's okay. All right. Because that's the whole demo right there. It is that thinking simple. And again, you're in Florida, I'm in San Diego. We're different time parts, you know, but yet I'm doing work that you created for me back in Florida. That's how damn easy it is to do.
Yep. And then I'm going to share my screen just to show you. I've got a PDF here. There's a thing in the background. Let me know when you can see this.
Okay.
I went ahead and I just transferred the file to my PC and generated my PDF report for the test. And you see your label right up there, that first label that we used in sequence. We see that project we were using, that TTWS BLT. So that's all in there. All your test results, bing, bang, boom, you're done. So piece of cake. So I'll stop sharing now.
You know what? You and I, my friend, were geniuses. I don't care what anybody says. You know, I don't care how we look. You know, we're geniuses. We really are. You know, but yeah, it is as simple. And you know what? It's only going to get better. You know, AEM is always on the cusp of you know, new and exciting things, and so is brother. And this was just a match made in heaven. It really was. You know, I wish we would have had this back again, you know, using that work word again. It would have made my life a heck of a lot easier. So again, I want to thank you very much, you know, for your hard work on your end. I want to thank Lisa. I want to thank Jacqueline and everybody in the AEM organization for really making this happen and coming to fruition, not only on the old app, right, but it continues. And it just gets better with the Brother Pro label tool. So if you don't have it on your phone already, either Android or iOS, it's the Brother Pro label tool. And that's a lot of words for me. So I just call it the PLT.
Yep. Well, and appreciate the kind words there, Todd. And you know, I will say that, you know, I've been on board with the company now almost 4 years now. When I first came on board, one of the things that impressed me and still impresses me, and I talk about it all the time, is that the test platform was designed to go beyond being a certifier. So not only can you do this with your certification test, but incorporating the same platform, and we're the only ones that do this, you've got PoE and multi-gig Ethernet testing, discovery testing, things that you can do, use that same label scheme. Find another tester to do those tests, and maybe when you find that other tester, it doesn't allow label scheme. like we do. Again, it's all in one platform. And, you know, our engineering, I love them to death, because those guys, you know, Midnight Oil, they come up, you know, with new ideas based on feedback we get. And, you know, I see it happening with you guys. And you're talking about here, I can envision at some point where printers may just be a black box and everything goes through the phone. There's no keypads anymore. It's all in your app on your phone.
Oh, you know what? Once again, you spoiled all my thunder. Thanks a lot. And no, that, I mean, that's where really I envision this whole thing going, and that's why this app is so popular. Is, you know, just like you said, and we may or may not be working on something. I don't know. I can't say. You know, they never tell me anything, but you know, just something that clips on your belt, or a magnet. You know, and I know magnets don't stick to aluminum, but again, you know, or a hook or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, that just makes life a hell of a lot easier out in the field. One of the other things I want to bring up real quickly, and then before I forget, is that you mentioned, you know, your POE testing and certification, and again, it doesn't matter what is on that CSV. It could be IP addresses, it could be cable IDs, it could be port IDs, it could be whatever. We can also morph those into QR codes, which I you know, I love to talk about QR codes, but again, if I wanted to take all the data you just sent and I wanted to morph that into a QR code and print them off that way, I can. But again, anything that you can put on a database can now be printed wirelessly through any of our Wi-Fi enabled printers. So yeah, good stuff, man. Good stuff.
Cool. Well, as always, it's been great having you on here, and everybody out there, don't forget to check out BS with Todd. Never a dull moment in his. I should call him Toddcast instead of podcast. So
Toddcast, I love that. That's yours. That's yours. You know what? You own it. You own it. In fact, you know what? When I put that on my next shirt, I'm going to have to put something below it saying, you know, property of Stephen Kells. But no, that's because I like that. I like that a lot.
All right. Well, Todd, it's been great having you. A lot of good information. Don't forget to go to the Brother website, check out the new, download the app. You know, I played around with it. If I can use it, anybody can use it. So good job, Todd. Appreciate you joining.
Thank you very much, Stephen. Always a pleasure again. Take care of yourself.
All right, you too. Thanks, everybody.